What is up, sports bettors? It is Matt Moda here with OddsJam coming to you with some more NFL Week 1 best bets. Incredibly exciting stuff just every day. We're getting closer and closer to football season. Definitely make sure to check out the OddsJam YouTube channel for our previous best bets up until now. We have a couple, maybe 5 or so videos out, Week 1 NFL bets to lock in, maybe more. Definitely remember to subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel, where you will get access to all of our free picks, all of our educational content as well, all here on the OddsJam the OddsJam YouTube channel. And then, of course, if you could click that like button on this video, would help me out a ton. But like I said, for this video, we are giving out some NFL Week 1 best bets. And the game that I have highlighted is the Ravens at the Jets. So I have a preview out for a couple games so far. Specifically in this one, one game I have not yet touched on is the Ravens and the Jets. So let's look into it. The Ravens, unsurprisingly, monster favorites here. The OddsJam line prices their money line at minus 290. The Jets side of that is priced at plus 254. Really no value here if you are betting on the money line. If anything, I would say maybe take the Jets, but I don't think that will end up beating the closing lines. I think the Ravens will get more and more money as things go on, as time goes, as it gets closer to Week 1. But on the Ravens side, I just can't stomach minus 290 money line odds. What's more interesting is if we look at the spread. Now, looking at where the spread is priced, pretty much every book has this as a touchdown spread at -7. The only book that doesn't is FanDuel, which has it at -6.5. Now, I actually think this is a really good bet. I love getting this line at -6.5, -114 odds on FanDuel. It's not a positive EV play as of right now, but my guess is if you lock this in now, it will end up beating the closing line as the line shift. I think more and more people are going to dial in on the Ravens. So while this isn't a positive expected value play, I actually really do like the Ravens -6.5. But where I did find a positive expected value play is on the total. So the total right now, depending on where you look, is priced at 45 or 44.5. I would say it's probably split between 44 and a half and 45. PointsBet, Caesars, BetOnline, FoxBet have this at 45, and then 44.5. The OddsJam line prices it at 44.5, as does Tipico. And Tipico actually juices the under 44.5 in this case, as does the OddsJam line, juicing the under. And then FanDuel and BetMGM have it at even money. But getting this at under 45 at -110 odds is my favorite play for this game. So here I have it, Jets versus Ravens, under 45 points. I'm going to put, like I said, just a half unit on it, $50, place bet. So now let me just add this to my bet tracker. I put this on Caesars, and let's talk about it for a little bit. Number one, I mentioned that it was positive expected value when you compare it to the OddsJam line, which is the sharpest line in the world. The way I know that is by removing the VIG. So every sportsbook is going to charge some sort of juice to the odds. It's kind of how they make their money. They essentially tax the odds themselves. So that way, whenever someone places a bet, they place it at a little bit of juiced odds so the sportsbooks make their money. In order to find out what the accurate representation of a line is, it's just important to remove the VIG, find out the true odds, the fair line. And you do that by just typing in both sides of the line and then going to the no VIG calculator on the OddsJam line. So you just go to calculators, no VIG, fair odds calculator, and then like I said, you type in both sides of the line. So plus 106, minus 118, plus 106, minus 118, puts the true line of this bet at about minus 111.5. And again, we locked it in at minus 110 on Caesars. So that kind of shows you from a math perspective why this bet was positive expected value. And while the point spread, while I do like it, and I do think that's a good bet, but I'm not going to take a negative EV play, because you see here the OddsJam line prices this at minus 116, the other side of it at plus 105, and we can only get minus 114 on FanDuel. So if we want to type in both sides, it was minus 116 and then plus 105, puts it at about minus 110, minus 111. So if we could get this at minus 110, then I would suggest taking it. It's not worth it at minus 114, and the odds are the most important part of anything. So that's the math reason why I like the under and why I locked it in. Let's talk about it from a football perspective. Number one, the Jets stink. I think we can all get on board that the Jets stink, right? They finished last year in DVOA offensively as the 22nd ranked team according to DVOA, which means they're essentially 10th, 11th worst in the NFL. The only teams worse than them were some really, really bad teams. Saints, Dolphins, Steelers, Bears, Jaguars, Falcons, Lions, Texans, Carolina, Giants. Some gross teams were ranked below them in terms of offensive DVOA. Now, specifically heading into week one, their starting quarterback is going to be Joe Flacco. Zach Wilson is most likely going to be out for week one as he hurt his knee in the preseason against the Eagles. While his knee injury isn't supposed to be serious, it's not supposed to keep him out for a long time. I would be shocked if the Jets put him out there in week one. His timeline was about 4 weeks. Week one would be at about that 4-week part. So it is possible that Zach Wilson plays. I would just be surprised. Who is going to start in place of Zach Wilson? Former Raven, former Eagle, Joe Flacco, who hasn't won a start since 2019, who really hasn't been good since he won the Super Bowl like 10 years ago. He's been pretty much a bad quarterback ever since. He just had a crazy run. So the Jets offense, I think, is ripe to fade in this game. I also think the Ravens defense is ripe to back in this game. If we want to look at the Ravens results in week one, so what we know about the Ravens, they don't lose in the preseason, and they're very good week one. They are 4-1 the last 5 years in week one. Their only loss being this most recent one against the Raiders in what was a wild, wild game. For those of you who remember, that game went in the overtime. The Ravens had a chance to win it at the goal line. Lamar Jackson threw a pick. Just a wild game. Prior to that, 38-6, 59-10, 47-3, 20-0. The most points that they gave up in that 4-game stretch was 10 points. Now, they played some cupcakes during this time. This was before the Bengals got good. They shut them out. This was before the Bills got good. They only allowed 3 points. The Dolphins still really aren't that good, but this is when they were really bad. Only let up 10 points. The Browns, people thought that the Browns had some hype going into in this season, 2020. Actually, no, the Browns made the playoffs this year. The Browns were actually a good team this year. The Ravens pummeled them 38-6. So the guess here is that the Jets won't be able to score that much going against the Ravens defense. And if we're looking at defensive DVOA, Baltimore is going to be at the bottom, right? They're the 28th ranked defense in the entire NFL. That's a little misleading. A couple things. Number one, they have a new defensive coordinator, so they weren't happy with their performance. They replaced him with a new defensive coordinator. Number two, if you remember, the Ravens secondary was decimated before the season even began last year. Marcus Peters got hurt in the preseason, and the Ravens secondary was just decimated. They were pretty much throwing out practice squad, undrafted players in their secondary. So the Ravens are one of my sleepers to be good this year. Part of that reasoning is because I think they're going to have a good defense, and I think that defense is going to be healthy, which they weren't last year. So all in all, I think that this is going to be a lower scoring game. The Ravens offensively, the Jets did have the worst defense in the NFL last year. So there is the risk that this total goes over with the Jets only scoring 6 points because the Ravens put up like 50. I think that is in the realm of possibilities. But what I will say is that I am high on the Ravens this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were some growing pains as they try to get acclimated offensively, A, without Marquise Hollywood Brown, and B, with 2 running backs coming off of really severe knee injuries. J.K. Dobbins was out with the knee injury all of last year, torn ACL. He has since been activated. We figure it'll take a little bit for him to get his legs under him. Backup running back Gus Edwards isn't even expected to play in week one. So there's kind of some mystery there. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was a lower scoring game, like the Ravens maybe only put up 20. The Jets probably don't even get more than 10. Easily hitting this total going under the 45 number that we got it at. So that is, that is going to be my official betting pick for this game. The under 45 in the Jets-Ravens, locked in on Caesars. Bonus pick that I'm not locking in live because it's not plus EV, but I do really like the Ravens to cover the -6.5 spread. So that will be a bonus pick. That's all I got. Let me know what you guys think. If you're tailing, all that good stuff. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel, and that's it. So I appreciate you guys watching, and have a good one.